to Shelly's Jamaican Kitchen. Today we're gonna just rig up some nice stew beef or beef stew, whatever y'all call it. So here is 2 pounds of freshly washed beef. Here are all my veggies. We have here some green bell peppers. In this little corner here is my garlic, scallion, thyme, some chopped onions. I have here my carrots and my potatoes. Over here is all my powdered seasonings and like my browning and those other little stuff. Here's my Jamaican Caesar salt. Guys, I'm gonna be using some oxtail seasoning only because I do not have any beef seasoning. But if you do have that, that's the best thing to go with. Some all-purpose seasoning. My allspice, or some of you all call it pimento seeds or pimento grains. I'm gonna use some paprika for a little coloring. Some freshly ground black pepper, my browning, some oyster sauce, my ketchup, and of course the oil. Guys, by the way, this is my version. I don't know how you guys make it, but this is my way, okay? All right, guys, we're gonna start season now. So honestly, guys, I'm not even gonna measure my seasoning too much. You all can judge your seasoning sometimes. You can either reduce or increase. It's your tasting and what you like. If you all want, you can still comment and ask me to put it in the comment section of the amount I think you should use for how much meat you're using. So let's begin. This is the seasoning salt. Here's my oxtail seasoning. And guys, I'm not using salt today because most of these seasoning, they are already salty. And especially if you have blood pressure issues, you really don't need that. My all-purpose. The paprika. I'm gonna use about 8 pimento grains or so. 8 to 10. Not too much black pepper now. And guys, one of the most important things to remember about the browning, you cannot use too much browning because it's gonna make your meat really dark and maybe bittery if it's too dark. So just try to judge the amount. You don't need too much. Okay, the ketchup and the oyster sauce I'm gonna add towards the end of the cook time. So guys, I've added the onions and my garlic. That's all I'm adding now. All these will be added during the cook time. And guys, there's 2 ways you could cook your beef. You could do it in the pressure cooker or you could cook it on the stove top. It's kind of time consuming because it depends on the meat. It could be harder or softer. So for me, I don't like to pressure my meat. I like to just do it on the stove top and just wait. This could take a little bit more browning, guys, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add it. Like I said, I'm not measuring, I'm just judging. For hygiene purposes, I love to use my gloves. And if you happen to be using your hands, your bare hands, don't forget to wash your hands properly, because just all about contamination, okay? And guys, if you love a lot of spice, you can always go ahead and add some Scotch bonnet pepper or whatever pepper you have available. I'm gonna be putting a whole Scotch bonnet pepper towards, like, say 10 or 15 minutes left in the cook time. Now I'm gonna cover this for 1 hour and let it sit. And then when we come back, it's time to cook. Okay guys, it's about an hour now. We marinated for around that time, and now it's time to cook. So let's begin. So I'm gonna be cooking my meat on medium. It depends on your stove though. Your gauge may be different than mine. So I've added some oil. I'm using some canola oil. You could use whatever oil you desire. So what I'll be doing now is I'll be browning my meat. And like I told you previously guys, if you don't want to wait the long process, you can always brown your meat first for around 10 to 15 minutes on the stove top. Then after that time, you would transfer to your pressure cooker and let it pressure for around 20 minutes. Then you would return it back to the pot on the stove and add in your seasoning then, and then you would let that cook for around another 30 minutes or so, depending on how hard or soft your meat might be. It can be less. But as I'm gonna be doing it directly on my stove top, what I'll be doing now is that I'm heating up my pot a little bit. Then I'll be browning the meat on each side for around 10 to 15 minutes, at which time I'll be adding water gradually, just enough water to cover the meat, and keep checking on it to see how soft it is. This could take like around an hour and a half or so to cook, but during halfway of the cook time is when we'll be adding the fresh veggies and the potatoes. So now I'll be adding all the meat with the onions and garlic in the pot. Right now I'll not be adding water because I need the meat to have some color. So what I'll be doing, I'll be just letting it brown on this side, then I'll flip them to the next. And I'll also be covering the pot while I'm doing so. I won't be adding any water right now. Okay guys, this is 15 minutes since I've had this in the pot. I have not added any water. It accumulated this water by itself. So now I am going to be adding some water gradually. Just a tip guys, never add cold water to your beef. It's gonna make it even harder to cook. So I'll just be adding water just to cover the meat basically, and coming back and checking on this, because beef could take a longer time or a shorter time to cook. So I'll just be checking just to see how long it's gonna cook. So halfway through this cook time, I'll be adding all my fresh veggies. Okay, lovelies. Now it's time to add our fresh veggies. Actually, this is gonna be done cooking faster than I thought. So now we've been cooking this for around 50 minutes. It's getting tender already. So I know we're not gonna be cooking it as long as I anticipated. So now I've added these, and since it's more tender, I'm just gonna go ahead and add my oyster sauce and my ketchup. I did say I was gonna wait 10 minutes, like wait for the final 10 minutes to add these, but since it's this tender, I'm gonna just go right ahead. So now I'm just gonna add the ketchup and the oyster sauce with a little bit more hot water, and I think within the next 10 minutes or so we'll be done cooking. And don't forget guys, no cold water, absolutely no cold water. And I did add my 1 Scotch bonnet pepper. I added it whole, so just be careful when you're stirring not to burst it. How beautiful guys. It's gonna be tasting even better. I did taste and I don't have to adjust any seasoning. Everything is just right. But if you taste and yours tastes like it's a little bit fresh, you could just add a little bit more all-purpose seasoning. How beautiful guys. And I will definitely be serving this over some rice and beans for dinner today. So now we're gonna cover this and let it continue cooking. Then when we come back, should be time to serve. I don't know about you all, but I'm ready to eat. Guys, this is what we have in for dinner today. Over here is some gungo rice and beans with my corns. And I have a little veggies that I'm gonna be serving with this, like some steamed broccoli and steamed beans. So that's what we'll be having with this. And I'll see you in the next video.